Hello, so this is part two. I apologise for the bad light. It's gone miserable here in Manchester. So this is part two of the video I did about the care review. Now, to add or to expand on what I've already said, in creating the new care system, they need to make sure that it does what it says on the tin: care. At the moment, it's child management. They use the term corporate parent, which needs to be got rid of as well. There's no parenting at all. It's corporate child management, basically. So, there needs to be a public awareness campaign about care experienced people, about the challenges that we face, about the stigma and discrimination, especially in regards to ACEs, which is Adverse Childhood Experiences Score, and the long-term effects that has on our health and well-being, not just our physical health but our mental health as well. There needs to be awareness around trauma, and the whole thing needs to be trauma informed in regards to the fact that a large majority of people entering the care system will be experiencing a degree of trauma, and that trauma will be quite likely not only the abuse and neglect they experience, but also the trauma of going into the care system. There needs to be work around the shame that people in the care system feel about being in care, and the public need to be made aware that we're not all bad, naughty kids, and that if we are exhibiting or care experienced young people or experiencing bad behaviour, it's the behaviour, not them. It's the behaviour, not them. It's the behaviour, not them. They are not bad. Their behaviour is challenging, and their behaviour is challenging for a reason, is because if you know about trauma and you know about neglect and you know about abuse in early childhood, it rewires your brain. So that needs to be a key component of the care review as well, about looking at holistic approaches to healing and rewiring young people's brains. It needs to be about building their self-esteem and their mental health. It needs to be about them becoming in control of their own emotions and feelings, and raising awareness within the young people themselves of how to manage their behaviour and how to manage their unresourceful thoughts and feelings in a more proactive way. So this will require a huge amount of training to be undertaken with anyone that works with young people who've been in the care system or are in the care system. There's a term: it takes a village to bring up a child. So we need to take a village approach. This means that there are a variety of people, not all of them professionals with qualifications, that are involved in the young person's life, and these people need to be healthy, stable, secure, reliable individuals that are going to be on the young person's side for as long as possible, and this does include after they have left the care system. There needs to be more support made available to anyone who grew up in their care system, all care experienced people of all ages. Things are better now. There is support to go to university and stuff like that. I got not much support to go to university. I did it off my own back. My mum was dying at the same time as well, and I was working 60 hours a week, so it was just a bit of a challenge, as you can imagine, to get myself to university. The whole system needs to be about building up, empowering young people when they enter it as soon as possible. There needs to be interventions people who work in care homes, or what I used to call children's homes, need to be much better trained, and also there needs to be a much better approach in regards to managing behaviour. Anyone who rings the police because a young person's broken a plate ought to be reprimanded very strongly and very significantly and very heavily, because it's not how you go about doing things. So this is all under training and awareness raising, and the whole fact that this needs to be extremely well managed. This needs to be executed very well, and mostly undertaken by people who grew up in the care system themselves. We need to be involved much more than we are. Many of us are experts in regards to this because we've experienced it ourselves, and some of us have worked in a variety of public sector settings and voluntary and community settings as well, so we also have that awareness. Health, education, anyone involved in commission of services, especially for young people, and specifically young care experienced people, need to have a much better awareness and training around what our issues are and what needs to be done in order to help to support us across the whole gamut of services, public services as well. There needs to be a much better and more wider range of support made available to young people, not just going into university education, but a whole range of things, as I mentioned in the other video. Commissioning is very important. We must end commissioning services to the same old people just because they are who they are, and I'm not going to name them, but some of these organisations have been involved in this since the Victorian times. We need to change all of this. Commissioning needs to be a lot better. Care experienced people need to be involved in the commissioning of services as well, in the commissioning of anything to do with young people who are in the care system, or even older people who've been in the care system, in regards to criminal justice. A lot more needs to be done to support young people, to prevent them from going into the criminal justice system. As I said, you're 40 times more likely to be involved in the criminal justice system, and I'm being politically correct here, but means basically that you're 40 times more likely to be incarcerated in a prison or youth offending centre. And this isn't down to the fact that you're a bad boy or a bad girl. It's because they may have bad behavioural traits which aren't being managed appropriately, and they're not able to be supported enough to manage their own behaviour, and they end up in the criminal justice system because they've been let down, and also because they're quite rightly angry at the way they have been treated. Wouldn't you be angry if you'd been passed from pillar to post, from one place to another, if you're described as a lack looked after child, and wouldn't you be angry if you just get used to one social worker and another one turns up and you have to tell your life story again, and there's not enough knowledge around, or knowledge being applied around, the damage that trauma and neglect does. I strongly recommend people to read books around it, especially The Body Keeps the Score, because that really clearly sets out how damaging abuse and neglect can be in early childhood. And that's not to say that this is a prescription for what is definitely going to happen to people who've been abused and neglected. Obviously it's not, because we have power over our own emotions and feelings, but we need support. We need support in order to do that. Resilience doesn't just happen magically. It requires a lot of commitment from people working with young people, and needs a lot of commitment, a lot of patience, a lot of understanding for it to happen, because you have to remember that young people who are in the care system have been badly let down in the past by adults. So why are they going to trust people? I can't emphasize this strongly enough. Whatever replaces the current system really needs to have its foundations in being patient and being understanding, being all of these things. And it isn't about money and writing checks. It's not necessarily about this, because many of these qualities are actually free and are actually human qualities. It takes a village to bring up a child, which means that it's not just the parents, mum and mum, dad and dad, mum and dad, whoever it is. It's a variety of different people who take an interest in that child's life, in a positive interest in that child's life. And trauma-informed and ACEs training should be mandatory for anyone that is working within that field or in that sector, even if it's on the outside of it in some way. It needs to be mandatory because it underpins everything. It really, really does. We are not bad people. They are not bad children. They are children who've come from awful circumstances, and we really need to remember that. We need to remember it much more than we do. And it's not a case of being there, we've had a bad childhood, whatever. It's about really acknowledging that, to them, and helping them to move through it, to heal those traumatized children. There's little boys and little girls inside of them that are cowering in fear of the adults that abuse them, and helping them to come out, tell their stories, and heal from it, because that is how you heal from it, is by telling your story and moving through that, moving past that, of it being acknowledged and you being supported to be them being supported to be the fantastic human beings that they are, that is inside of them. Thank you.